I think let's talk about the financial side a little bit. We've talked many times before about saving for your later years. Let's look at that, and let's look at the emotional side of that as well. Apart from what I call the arithmetic, let's look at the emotional, psychological, if you prefer, issues.
Well, it's a very complicated subject because we all know, if we're still working, that we should be saving for retirement. I think we've all got that message, whether we're doing it
I'm
or
not sure.
not.
Well, you know
But
what? I'm not sure.
well, I think people know that they should, whether they're in
Hmm.
denial about when they need to start, how much they need to save, how long they need to prepare. That might very well be the case. I think, though, that we do know that it's something that we need to do, unless we're in the kind of position where we might be going to get a really big inheritance. But let's face it, that's not most of us. The other thing is, we're now going to live a whole lot longer than our ancestors did, and we're going to be active for an awful lot more time. So actually, not only are we going to be needing money, but our brains are going to need stimulation, and we're not going to be content just sitting home in the living room watching television. We're going to need to be going places and doing things, and a lot of us might actually be better off if we actually had some kind of work to be going to at least part of the time, whether that was paid work or whether that was volunteer work.
Yeah, I mean that's right. Part-time work has become more of an issue as we have all gone through life. The idea that as we said before, you get to 65, you stop work. I mean, no, those days are gone. Perhaps not for everyone, but the opportunity to continue some level of work, whether it's full-time or part-time or even volunteer work, etc., it becomes much more relevant. And the savings side, you talk about do we all know that we need to save for our later years? I think probably we kind of do. But I mean, unless you've got control of your savings as you're still working, I had a lady call me. It's a few months ago now. And she said, "Look, I think I'm all over the place with my savings." She was in her sort of mid-40s, I would think. She said, could we meet for a coffee? We did, etc.
Mhm.
And she said, "Look," she said, I'm not sure that I'm saving properly for the retirement years." And I said, "Well, okay, tell me what kind of money you've got at the moment." She had no idea.
Yeah, that's very common.
She had absolutely no idea. Not only did she not know, as it were, arithmetically, how much money she had in savings or whatever, she didn't know where the money was. She knew
That's
that she
true.
had a pension. She has an employment pension, and we'll talk about that in a minute or two. She has an employment pension, so therefore she had some idea that she would have a pension when she, as it were, turned 60, 65, whatever it may be, but she had no idea how much.
Well, it gets very complicated because in this day and age, people don't just work one job for their whole career. It's quite normal to have had two, three, four
Yeah.
fairly serious senior positions. And if you've been working in that kind of a scenario, you might be in the position where you have a different pension associated with each segment of work with a different company. And if those are all sitting out there in space, can you honestly say to yourself that you know exactly where your money is, how much has been contributed by you and the former employer? How is that producing? Is it growing? Would you be better off if you went to the time and trouble to amalgamate everything into one plan?
Well, and also we've also always talked about doing voluntary contributions to pension plans, whether that's your existing plan or previous plan, whatever that may be. But the voluntary contributions are a tremendously good idea, particularly obviously when you're still working, because hopefully you've got a little bit extra at the end of the month. And you can either put that into a savings account and essentially control that yourself. But if your employment pension plan has the ability for you to make voluntary contributions, and what all that means is that you decide A, that you want to do that, you want to put more money in every month, and B, that you can put it in to the pension plan because it's going to be professionally managed. In other words, it's probably going to be in a mutual fund, something like that, but it's going to be professionally managed. Now, in some respects, it's kind of out of sight. So therefore, you just push it away every month. You don't really notice it that much. But keep in mind that the voluntary contribution, you can bring that piece, that portion, that fund, if you wish, out of the pension plan at any time. It's voluntary going in and it's voluntary coming out, as opposed to the mandatory pension plan that your employment pension plan will be involved with.
I think one of the things people also miss is the voluntary contributions are the easiest thing in the world to sign up for. A lot of the time, all you have to do is go to the HR office and ask for one form. You fill it out, you let them know how much is to be deducted from your paycheck as a voluntary contribution, and they take care of all the rest, and the amounts contributed just show up on your pension statements.
And as I say, that's professionally managed, which is a tremendous benefit, because rather than you having to decide what you're going to do with that money, you don't want to necessarily put it into a savings account at the bank where you get minus 0.5% or something like that. You want your money to grow.